Board games, board games, it's what we'll talk about. Board games, we're not gonna shout. I am starting off this streaming with a little bit of singing, and over here to the side of the screen is the person known as Phoebe. Phoebe has been known as Phoebe Wild for many years since they were but a child. Phoebe has made clothes that are geeky, and they are also somewhat chic-y. Board games, it's what we're talking about. Board games, I'm not going to shout. And today we are going to talk about scams because that's neither of our jams. If you can, board games, we're not gonna get scammed. Board games, or else they're going to get banned. Hey,
Yay! I like the new additions to the song.
thank you. And it's lovely to see Xate. Hello. And it's getting wild in there. And morning or evening, Alex says. Thank you. And good morning, Bez and Phoebe. Although, as we all know, it is now the busy bedtime board game bladder. I know it's just a little bit early for bedtime. I think it's about 9.
It's 7 p.m. for us, so too early for sleeping.
Wow. Well, if you were a small toddler, maybe this is a good bedtime show. I don't know. To be honest, if you're a small toddler, I feel like this would most of this would go above your head.
Probably. Be a lot more screaming.
And you'd probably not like showing them screens. And let's not get there. But I am Bez. We're blathering about board games, and today we are talking about avoiding scams. Because Phoebe, just to go into it, you said that you've got a story that you're going to share with us in a few minutes, where there's like one of these marketers where they promise you the world and then they don't quite deliver. Yep. But scams are a terrible thing, and whether it's Golden Bell or kind of other people in the world, we're going to say, try not buyer beware. It's like just every person, unfortunately, in this world has to beware. But before we get to all of that, let's talk about the brilliant thing. Brilliant thing. What's a little thing which is brilliant?
All right. I nominate stickers.
Oh, cool. Like, how are you just talking about normal, put them on a thing, stickers, personalize yourself, or are we venturing into restickable stickers and those kind of fancy paraphernalia?
I mean, all kinds of stickers, just like, I don't know, there's something about just decorating with them and using them on letters or using them on I don't know, just everything. I just remember having little sticker books all the time or all kinds of different things, and they just make me really happy to just like chuck them on things and decorate.
Do they have Panini in Australia, like this sticker company that would give you like sticker books, and then it was almost like collectible sticker. I was going to say like collectible card games, but with stickers, but there's no game attached. And so you got like a booster pack of maybe 12 or 15 stickers. Some of them were common, some of them were rare, some of them were uncommon. So you'd kind of go through in the playground and then you'd be like, oh yeah, I've got that one. And then, oh, I've not got that one. Do you want any of mine?
Wow.
And it was actually, when I think about it, it is a really predatory tactic to kind of have a few they don't tell you which ones are rare. But, if you want, you kind of get this book and then you buy it and then you want to obviously fill it up, whether it's like Spider-Man and then the stickers kind of tell a story or something like that. And so you really, it was. But maybe that's sticker. I don't know if that sticker's used for evil. I mean, it feels kind of evil in retrospect. I don't know how you're feeling about this, what I'm explaining.
It's a bit odd. Like I've seen things like that. There are a whole bunch of other toys where it's like collect all the cats or collect all of the squishy things, and yeah, it's the same thing with like different rarities, and it's just like clearly a bait for kids to bug their parents to buy them more and more things. Um, so it's a bit strange. It's like loot boxes and games and stuff like that.
And yeah, we've got other shouts outs to scratch and sniff stickers.
Oh, they're good
Um,
stickers.
Sorry you got to scam calls, 8. Yeah, but hopefully, you know, I know that you're an intelligent person and you're not going to give in to these scam calls. So often I get someone who sounds a bit like a robot and I say, hey, are you, I kind of hear that familiar tone and I say, are you human? And then when they kind of carry on talking, after about 5 seconds, I just swear at them, you know, to get it out of my system, this annoyance at the robots.
Yep.
And then, you know, I hang up.
Yep.
That seems like a very legitimate thing to do. Just say, hey, can I hear what? And sometimes it can get a bit of entertainment, but and it's sad to say, some of these people on these scam phone calls, they are, I was going to say they're doing their job, but no. No, I mean, they shouldn't be working for immoral companies. I mean, although I kind of feel for the people who are pushed into working for immoral companies because they don't have any other choice.
Yeah.
Anyway, man, we've gone really dark considering this is meant to be, yeah, brilliant thing. Yeah, so stickers. I have some stickers myself. Did you know this?
No.
Um,
Like Bez stickers?
yeah, hold on.
Oh.
There are little stickers from Kitty Cataclysm. So you've got the catchier. Hold on. Got the catchier.
Oh, cute.
A musician.
Oh, that's so good.
Catch. The pyramid scheme. And the catnap. And the people's favourites is always the cat ass trophy. I mean, but you were talking about putting them on envelopes. So basically what you're saying is that when you send a bit of mail to someone, or is that going to be what you're going to do for your Kickstarter? Just plaster everything with a sticker on each envelope?
I did it when I sent out our review copies. I hand wrote a note for everyone and put stickers all over it, and it was very fun. So hopefully they appreciated that. I had fun making them. So.
Do you not feel like kind of when you put stuff on the envelope, there's a bit of sadness because it's like, yeah, it's going to the envelope's just meant to be a disposable thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I try to put it on the letter itself rather than on the envelope. Yeah.
I like your thinking. I mean, I always doodle on my envelopes, but what I'm going to get soon is I am going to get a sticker just for my, this is like totally, you know, it's not particularly exciting or frivolous or fun, but, you know, on the back of every envelope that I send out, I've got to put my own address. So it's like return to sender. If it doesn't get there, it comes back to me. And, you know, occasionally, even if there's 2% of stuff that comes back to me, that's actually quite a bit. You know, that's, you know, every 200 things I send out, you know, I'm getting 50 quid back that otherwise I would have just lost in the postal system. Yeah. But so I'm thinking rather than handwriting them all, I've gotten Chris to kind of make a little sticker using my typography from my LDEC.
Oh, that's cool.
Kind of like, hey, here's a little thing. So I'm just going to stick those directly onto the envelope. So it's a little bit faster for me, which is a nice utility of stickers. And those are very utilitarian stickers, obviously. But let's appreciate the stickers, even if they're not the most colorful things, just being used for their utilitarian purpose.
And they can still be decorative and pretty and have your art on it. So it's not like they're completely boring stickers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, let's move on to games. What have we been playing? What are their names? Games. Have you been playing many games recently?
I've been playing a few. We just today, Mark and I played the Ticket to Ride London, the new mini Ticket to Ride, which was a lot of fun. And we played what was it called Escape Tales,
Ooh,
a second Escape Tales called Low Memory the other
I
day,
don't
which
know
was
this one.
it was a 3 chapter escape room, and it's really good because it's not timed. So you play through it, and what you have are little action tokens, and you have a limited number of them, and you place an action token on the part of the room you want to explore, or the location you want to go to, and you'll discover something or get some cards or get some clues and kind of work your way through the story that way. And if you run out of tokens, you have to take a stress card, which obviously makes bad things happen, but gives you a bit more time in the game. But it's much more relaxed, I guess, than working against a timer, which is really nice because you're just working on your own pace. You can take your time, decide what you want to do. You're just limited by how many places you can go to.
Yeah, there's something really nice about, okay, I mean, I do like real-time games, don't get me wrong, but there's something lovely about, I think it's the nature of board games where, okay, you don't want to have that Twitch gameplay of a video game, you just want to
Yeah.
relax and be able to ponder your move for quite a bit. Javier was tempted by Escape Tales, apparently. Hello, Javier, it's lovely to see you. Presumably you would recommend it.
Yeah, it's a really good system, especially I would say the puzzles are really good. Low memory, if you want challenging puzzles, low memory has more challenging puzzles and a longer overall gameplay. It's like 3 hour and a half sessions. So that one's really good. The other one is called, I forget, The Awakening. Thank you, Mark. Which is a bit more kind of a surreal story, but puzzles are slightly easier. The other really good thing about the system is it's replayable because you'll get different endings and different paths. So if you're the kind of person who wants to play through it and see where different choices take you, kind of like a choose your own adventure book, it is replayable, maybe a second time, or I'd say The Awakening even a third time because it's so branching, that one. And
Do
we've
you know if it would be easy to play on Tabletopia? I know you're clearly biased because right beside you you've got but
sorry,
Javier asks, is it easy to play or shall I? Oh.
this is Chester.
So
I'd
for those
say
who don't know, Phoebe's partner, it does work for Tabletopia.
so I would say that no, I'm gonna keep it. I would say it would be pretty easy to play on Tabletopia, because you're kind of just placing action tokens and then reading the story and taking the relevant cards. And there's not really any physicality besides seeing the information on the cards. The only thing you might lose is not being able to like put the cards right up to your face, but you can kind of
Hmm.
zoom in and obviously see the cards that way. So I
Yeah,
think you'd be
once
able
you
to get.
get used to that kind of scrolling or on a touchpad,
Yeah.
I use the two fingers to kind of scroll because I've got to Mac.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. So I think it'd be very easily enjoyable on Tabletopia, and it'd be enjoyable solo as well. I think, especially if you're in for the story, because you can just kind of take your time and see where it takes you.
cool. And
Yeah,
that's one that people could try out for free on Tabletopia, or is it
yeah. I believe it's free on Tabletopia, like the full version, so you don't even have to pay
amazing?
for it. You can just play through it, play through the whole story.
I mean, I'm sure I'll talk with Mark about Tabletopia and like the difference of physical and digital versions at some point. So let's not get into that rabbit hole. But we've got Xate says that they played Camel Down, Force Up, which sounds like a very interesting mashup. I see what
Ha-
you did there. Well,
I'm
what
so
Loser
curious.
presumably did.
Did you actually mash up the two games? I'm so curious how you did that.
It's a mashup
Nice.
of Downforce and Camel Up that we play on Loserpalooza for fun, laughs, and good times. I would be very interested to see how that works.
Me too. I love Camel Up. So I'd be interested in a different variant of that. Oh, nice.
Camels on the Downforce board and a mix of rules. Yeah, Dave Loser and Ilk Loser are really inventive people.
Amazing.
And so, things that I have played, I played Kitty Cataclysm myself a few times, which is my game about cats, chaos, cat puns, and there is a solo version that I talked about recently on this stream, not having played it for quite a few months. I was like, yeah, was that good or was it not? And then I played it like, I think I played it 3 or 4 times, and I only managed to beat it on the fourth time. And then I've played it 3 times since, and I
Nice.
beat it every time. So I think it's like maybe because there's definitely some skill. I mean, there's definitely lots of chaos. Don't get me wrong; it is a chaotic game in its multiplayer mode, and so I think it's a. Honest, I started timing it. Like the games take me about 7 minutes, so hopefully, if you lose early on, it's not too bad. But that's something I want to continue show to other people and maybe start writing the rules and seeing if that's something that people would be interested in
Yeah,
for future.
cool.
I played Q4U, which we actually only played half of that game. That was kind of a playtest. It went fairly well. You're writing phrases, so it might be like, okay, what's a good pizza topping? And you want to write a long answer because the longer the answer, the most points. But if you have the longest answer out of everyone, you go bust.
Oh.
And then there's a second way to get points, which is to use little pairs of letters within your answer. So it might say OT, TH, and then Z is going to be on its own because Z is just really hard anyway. And so you've got like this crazy answer, like you might say sardines and things from the garden. Just because you really wanted to use that GA and the RD, and you were like, oh my god, garden, that's perfect.
Yep.
But we also played How Much Money, which is by Chris Bockey, and that was enjoyable. But I did notice that I think for a party game, if I want to play it on stream again, especially if I want to keep it within 2 hours, which I do want to do for my evening streams, I think I'm going to have to be a little bit more, okay, once it's 5 minutes, that's the end of your turn. We could carry on this conversation because it's one of those games where you basically say, how much money would it take someone to do a belly flop into a swimming pool? And then people could ask, okay, does the swimming pool have water in it? Does the swimming pool, is the water at boiling temperature? Whatever. And yeah, it's yeah, Alan Outson was there, Sates was playing on camera, and I think even Alex was there. But yeah, it could ramble on for like a good 5 hours if you let it. So you've got to at some point say, okay, 5 minutes, that's the end of the turn.
Yeah, I know some negotiation games like that too.
Yeah.
It just can go on forever.
And a few quick comments. Alan Outson says they've been going through the solo games. They'd like to see more how to play using tabletop videos for each game. So pass the message on. Thank you.
I know that's something that Mark is working on. He's been really hectic the last couple of months with organising for Gen Con, organising for Origins and all of that, and UKGE. But I know now that he's got a bit of breathing space before Essen, he's going to be working on more tutorial videos and resources like that as well.
Amazing. And Javier is trolling and saying we all know it's Camel Cup. But apparently the mashup was Xate's idea. Well done. How Much Money is funny. And yeah, even Alex. And yeah, even Alex was there. And yep, that's kind of in jokes. If you want to wait, that's kind of apparently how much money it would take for Xate to get rid of literally all their tech. So, talking about things that we have enjoyed, but there are things in the world that are not games that we also enjoy. So, recent highlights, living life and seeing the sights, recent highlights.
Right.
What have been your recent highlights? Would you care to go first?
Yeah, so recently I bought my mum a Nintendo Switch, and Animal Crossing, because obviously we're in stage 4 lockdown here in Melbourne, which means that we've got a curfew from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. pretty much all the shops are closed except for like groceries and pharmacies, and we're not allowed to leave the house unless we actually have to. So we've all been kind of shut in, and I haven't been able to catch up with her or anything like that. But she is just losing her mind over Animal Crossing. She loves it so
Aw.
much, and it's just really cool to see that. And we've been like calling each other and then visiting each other's islands every week. Every Sunday, because there's fireworks on at the moment. So we go to each other's island and we watch the fireworks and we chat on the phone, and that's been really nice.
Do you think that the prevalence of Animal Crossing is largely because it came at this time in our lives?
I mean, I know it was already a really popular series. I'd never played any of the previous Animal Crossing games. Mark was a huge fan of them. But I think it did come out at the perfect time when everyone just like needed something just wholesome and relaxing, and we just make our own little island and we can connect with other people still, and it's just a very peaceful game. And I think it's just so perfect for especially, pandemic times. But regardless, I think it would have done well, but it definitely took off because of that. People just being able to kind of lose themselves in it. So it's a nice kind of relaxing distraction, I think.
Yeah, and kind of being able to connect with people and have your little avatar moving over to them when you can't actually. I've got, this is my local post office. So this is from outside. I took this picture because I just find it's interesting, like all these posters that are, hey, let's stay safe together, and outside any supermarket, they've got their own branding for these messages. And I find it really interesting. But, oops, I did post a couple of things, and that's how I personally decorate my envelopes.
Oh, it's so cute.
Thank you. And so that's me with a sort of dragon thing, and me with a cats, and the dragon thing had cats on the other side, because you need cats at least on every
Obviously
envelope.
you need cats.
Yeah, cats always have to be there. And so yeah, that's going to be my recent highlight, just kind of a task finished, going to the
Nice.
post office. So now let's get let's do. Oh yeah, I do want to remind people, feel free to comment, ask any questions, follow. We are going to be concentrating on shady marketers and scammers and such things, but if you have any questions about making clothes that we didn't get into last time, then Phoebe is like the ideal person to ask, and hopefully we might even have, like, if Phoebe is willing, sorry, I shouldn't spring this on you, like at some point in the future, let's talk about marketing or something,
Yeah, absolutely.
I know you've got loads of expertise, but I want to, as I said at the start, try to keep each of these episodes a bit more focused.
Yeah.
Because if I am going to do hundreds of these a year, which it turns out that I've at least done 100 and however many this is, then, I would like each one to be. And so, yeah, clothes for scammers, clothes to stop scammers. Can your clothes stop scammers? And wow, that is amazing, Sate. But yeah, let's get into a couple of questionably quick questions. Firstly, what time did you wake up this morning?
10 a.m.
Oh, luxurious. Are you a late riser, would you say?
Definitely. We're usually up until, I'd say, 2 or 3 a.m. So 10 a.m. is pretty good for us.
And did you have breakfast?
I did, yes.
What was it?
I had pumpkin bread with salami and mustard.
I mean, the more I hear about your lives, and you are a regular drinker of boba, is that correct? Bubble tea?
Mark is.
You do not like bubble tea?
I am not a bubble tea fan. I support his bubble tea decisions, but that's as far as it will go.
Okay, is Mark available to talk? Does Mark know that in London there is at least one place that sells bubble coffee?
Oh my god, Mark! He's in headphones. I'll tell him. I'll tell him about the bubble coffee.
Wait, let me tell Mark, because I think Mark's going to come on again. So I want to see the expression on Mark's face. So in Camden, there's a place that sells bubble coffee. It's a mocha with bubble bits in it.
Wow. Is it hot or cold?
You can choose. You can choose to have
Wow.
no ice, to have lots of ice, to have crushed ice, or to have a little ice. It's entirely your choice.
Wow. So we recently, just as Melbourne started going into lockdown, a business opened up called Bubble Tea Club, and you can order basically bubble tea kits, so you can make it at home. So they give you the tapioca balls, um, and you like boil them yourself, and then they give you the powder and the sugar and everything like that. So we have the bubbles, so we could put it in
Ooh.
coffee.
But just to reaffirm, Alex, the way it works is you would get the coffee, like the mocha coffee, and then the bubbles. So yeah, there is no tea. You're right, just bubbles. It's bubble coffee. It's the
I like
next.
I like regular tea, but I don't like textures in my liquid. It's I
Oh, I'm
just
all
don't
about
like
the textures. If I
no.
make a stew, I am chopping that up roughly. I
Oh,
want big.
stews are different. Not in my drinks though. I just don't like it. I don't like the squishy.
Hmm.
You're
So
welcome to. I don't judge people for liking it. It's just not my thing.
that's
I just
cool. That's cool. Okay, let's move on. Um. So can you describe how you're feeling about your Kickstarter?
I would say still in disbelief, honestly. Just at the fact that it kind of went way beyond what we thought it would, and at the fact that we're having the chance to make this into reality, and keep planning for a second series of designs and planning on doing all these cool things. So I think we're still kind of in a little bit of disbelief that suddenly I have a clothing line. I mean, not
Hmm.
suddenly, it was a lot of work, but it's
I mean,
becoming a
it's like
reality.
every overnight success has 10 years of work leading up to it.
Yeah, exactly. But it just kind of feels unreal that, after working on it and kind of talking about it for so long as hypothetical, it's suddenly like, oh, I have these clothes. Like I have the samples. These are the second pre-production samples from the manufacturer that are basically exactly the same as uh what will be in Bacca's hands. So this is it. Like we've got our own little branded sizing label and everything. Um,
Nice.
it's got
I
like
like your
it's
typography also. Can you, like, for the little XL bits and the AU US?
Yeah, it's they turned out really well. Honestly, I just made them on Canva, which is just a basic graphic design tool online, and I just put our logo in. I picked some nice fonts and sent them to the manufacturer, and suddenly we have a branded branded sizing tag, which is very strange to me, but
Do you know what
it's
fonts you
real.
used for that?
Sorry.
Do you know what fonts you used for that?
I could look it up very easily. Um, Let me have a look. Feel free to ask me questions while I find it, though.
Yes. So a lot of people suggest Canva, Alex says, and Alex says they will check it out. Would you recommend it?
It's really useful, and it's free unless you want to do a bunch of things like save your branding colors and be able to. They have a few tools that are paid, but basically, if you want to just be able to make a thing, put in different designs, it's really good. They have templates, so you don't have to really have a good graphic design eye. You just kind of pop photos in. It has a few weird quirks, like in terms of the usability, where sometimes you'll be trying to drag a photo on top of the background layer, and then it will automatically put it as the background. And the only way to move it over is like using the arrow keys until it's in position because it automatically puts the image in the background. So there's a few like weird usability things, but for what it is, if you just want quick, easy graphic design, especially if you're doing it for like social media posts or like quick things that you just want done, um, it's a really good tool. And as I said, free unless you want like all the advanced stuff. But we didn't start paying for it until maybe like a month before our Kickstarter launch, when we really needed like Facebook ads and that kind of thing. Let's have a look. I think the file is here.
And yeah, we've got a lot. So I think that let's get into the main topic. I mean, once I am still curious about the fonts. If you find it, then great. If it's too tricky, don't worry.
No, I just found
But-
it. So it's actually the font that we use for a lot of our branding. It's called Sign Painter. And so that's the font that you'll see a lot on our website as well, and in a lot of our materials. And so our graphic designer
that
actually
would be
chose that
what
one.
here?
Yes, yeah, it's the same one. So we use that one a lot. It's a little tricky to find because I think it's like an older font that isn't in the newer, like Adobe's or the newer ones, but it is still available somewhere. And it's just a pretty font. It's nice and bold. It's a little bit decorative, but it's still readable. So yeah, we really do like that one.
Kind of line between. Yeah, I think that's exactly what Phoebe just said.
Yep.
Sign Painter.
Sign Painter without a space, it looks like, but otherwise exactly like that.
So, let me to introduce the topic. Could you possibly just share your story in as much detail as you're willing to share?
Yeah, absolutely. So, basically, this is about us getting scammed as LUDOCHERRY, which is obviously not something you ever want to happen. But hopefully, talking about it and kind of looking at all the red flags, we can stop other people from kind of having this situation. So we had just basically funded and launched on Kickstarter. So we'd already done a few years of pretty solid work, kind of building our brand, building our product. And we were already working with BackerKit, who are fantastic. I really recommend them if you get a chance. And so they were doing pre-launch Facebook ads for us, and then during our launch or during the campaign ads for us. So BackerKit was really good. Obviously, they do a lot of tabletop projects, so they know who the audience is, how to market things, how to graphically represent things. And even though our product is not a game, they knew kind of how to appeal to those audiences because they do dice, they do RPGs, they do other accessories. So yeah, BackerKit is not the problem here. If you ever have the chance to work with BackerKit, either as a pledge manager or for ads and marketing, they're excellent. But what happened is we funded within about 8 hours of launch, which was incredible. And then we got an email from a company called Funded Today. And they were basically saying, hey, we've seen your Kickstarter. We think your product's great. We would love to have you on board and do some Facebook ads for you and all of that. And, help make your project even bigger. And that is all well and good, but basically, and we'd also I think we'd reached out to them pre-Kickstarter when we were looking at marketing partners, and we'd kind of shot them an email and tried to find out their fees, and then communication didn't quite go through, and then it fell off. So we knew the name Funded Today. We were like, oh, okay, this is fine. So we kind of started talking with them. And the short version of the story is that we went with them. They required an upfront fee, which is the first red flag. And, we paid that. They theoretically got the marketing underway. They put
is an upfront fee really a red flag? Because don't lots of people want half the money before, half the money after? Like, I feel like that's quite a common thing in lots of industries.
So usually, but in this case, so how BackerKit does their marketing is there's no fee, there's no like setup fee with them. Basically, the money they make from you as a campaign is a percentage of referrals. So a percentage of referrals who go through their ads and end up backing your campaign. And they obviously use Facebook tracking, ad tracking to see exactly who pledged because of their ad, and they will actually end up losing money on some of that because it might happen that I see a BackerKit ad on Facebook, I click on it, and I don't back straight away. So what I do is maybe I save that in my Kickstarter app and I come back to it at the 48-hour notification. What that means is that BackerKit doesn't actually get the referral because I've clicked through from a notification or I've gone back and looked it up afterwards. So BackerKit wouldn't actually get the commission on that ad. So they, by only taking commissions, they actually get less than.
Who? Whoops.
Hi.
Oh, great. Sorry, you froze for a moment for me.
That's okay. How long did I cut out for?
And just like 2 seconds.
Okay, cool.
You said you were explaining that by having that referral link, not everyone's going to go through it and they lose out on some of the money.
Yeah, so basically, BackerKit only makes money if you make money, which makes sense, right? They're incentivized to do their best to promote you, to make quality ads, to kind of use all their know-how to do what they can. And they're also not going to spend time on a campaign that they think, won't track well with ads. If they think a campaign's not going to have good conversions or good ad revenue, they're not going to take you on as a client because they know they won't make money from you either.
So they're going to be very picky about who they choose to work with.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we as a company, we pay for the ad spend, and every day we say, okay, they checked in with us every 24 hours. They said, okay, this is the stats, this is the current data, and this is our current spend per day. We recommend staying at X hundred per day. And if I want, I could say, oh no, stop all ads, or just spend 50 a day, or spend 20 a day, or whatever I want. And then they tailor that down, but they'll give their recommendations as well. So it's 100% communication. You have all the data on how effective they're doing, how well they're doing, and they have a lot of experience in this particular industry as well. Obviously, BackerKit does a lot of different projects, but they do a lot of tabletop. So they really know, they really know their stuff. Honestly, they know what works.
It does sound like amazing. Like, I guess also, to be fair, you did already have a really good campaign. Like your idea, like you've got these beautiful fabrics. There's no clothes that have that kind of geek chic in the same way that you do. It's like either emblazoned geek, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely.
The whole point of what you're doing, like it is unique. Whereas, and so yes, it sounds like once you're big enough, if you're already in a place where it is going to track well with ads, for sure, it sounds like good to work with. But you were talking about how there was this other company, asking for money up front.
Yes, so they contacted us after we'd funded, and they said, okay, this is our upfront fee, and we'll get commissions obviously on any referrals we make as well. The second red flag was they wanted commissions on basically the entire project. So their initial contract with us was, we get, I can't remember what percent it was, like 10%, say, for example, we get 10% of all pledges unless they're specifically tracked using one of your own links that we'll give you that says it didn't come through us, right? So they're basically saying that unless you do all this detailed tracking, which you as a person are not set up for because you're not a marketing company, unless you manage to do all of this, we're basically taking another 5 to 10% of your campaign, which is already garbage, because if that contract had stayed as it was, they would have gotten 5% of our funding money before, even though they hadn't even come on board to make us funded. So that was a terrible contract. We got them to change that, so it was only any tracked referrals that came through. But the fact that was in there at all should have been a bit of a warning sign as well.
Yeah, I mean, if someone's trying to pull the wool over your eyes in one way, then the question is, in how many other ways are they trying to pull the wool over your eyes?
Yeah, and I think Mark and I, we were kind of in that very crucial first 72 hours of the campaign. I think this was within the first 24 hours that they reached out to us. And we were kind of the mentality that, oh, quick, if we get this other company on board, they'll be able to boost us even more. Because that first 72 hours, as I'm sure you know, is so good for, getting that momentum, and it can just snowball if you just skyrocket. It can just go so well. So we're like, okay, we'll get another company on board as well. They'll have slightly different data, they'll have a different knowledge set, and they'll be able to market to people who BackerKit might have a blind eye to. And it's crucial that we get this running as fast as we can, if it's going to work, because if it's going to work, it should be right now at the very start of the campaign before we miss that window. So I think we kind of, even though we noticed these red flags, we kind of glossed over them a little bit because we did want to get the best out of our campaign, and so we rushed it a little bit. I think we were less cautious and paranoid than we normally would be about something like this, and we were both kicking ourselves afterwards, obviously. So yeah, that we got them on board, paid them the money. Once they received the money, they started, running Facebook ads and all of that. And also after they received the money, basically all communication with them dropped off. So we had very consistent communication with them while we were negotiating this contract, asking questions, being like, oh, how does this work? Does this make sense? And they were like, oh, we're really keen to have you on board. We'll change that part of the contract. Here's this, here's that. And as soon as they received our money and were meant to be working for us and, keeping us updated, suddenly, radio silence. We couldn't arrange meetings. We couldn't really get anything done, or get updates or anything like that. And over the course of the contract with them, which we cut off basically as soon as we were allowed to in that contract, over the course of that, they got us one referral, I think, in like a few $100s of ad money. So we were basically cut off the ad spend as soon as we could and just ran away. We're like, we know.
So they, with the ad spend, they're spending it directly from your account, so that doesn't come out of the money that you gave them up front. They were getting additional money for the ad spend?
Yeah, that's correct.
How did they have access? Was that because you'd granted them access to your Facebook page?
So they basically tracked their ad spend and then invoiced us afterwards for it. So they didn't directly charge us, but they did, it was in the contract that, okay, you pay us for the ad spend and then you pay us for the referrals as well, or like a commission on the referrals, essentially. But we were basically under the understanding that, okay, it's a bit unusual to have an upfront fee in the same way that a good like agent for like an actor wouldn't ask for an upfront fee, right? Because having an upfront fee means that they're less incentivized to work to get you a job. If they're based on commission, they'll work to get you an acting role. They'll work to get your Facebook ad referrals. But we were like, okay, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt because we want to believe the best in people in a way as well. So we're like, but there's so many of these marketing companies. They can't all be scams, right? They must be real. How can they all be scams? And so there was a little bit of naivety, I think, there as well. But we were like, oh, the upfront money, surely that's because, they take their time to understand our product, right? So this is their fee for spending time to, research the audience, research the demographics, kind of get an understanding of our product, make graphics. Maybe we gave them a bunch of photos and assets, but maybe they're making ad graphics and all these things that will help market us. And we're like, okay, that's what that upfront fee is for. It's for that time that they're putting in to invest in us as a brand, right? And invest in understanding how to market us. So that's how we justified that upfront fee in our head, even though looking back, we're like, oh my God, we should not have paid that. And yeah, basically what happened is they got us one referral total, which was absolutely appalling. As someone said, like, you could put someone who doesn't know how to run Facebook ads and get
Xate said at least two of the people that they told about it who backed.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. I'll pay you an upfront fee overfunded today next time. Keep your links and I'll give you a referral fee. So no referrals, and also really weird, just like very bad communications in some ways, because there was a guy who was meant to be in charge of our we had a bunch of people in charge of different aspects of it. This guy was in charge of cross promotion, so basically he'd give us things that we post in at the end of our Kickstarter updates to promote, and then our thing would be posted at the end of other people's Kickstarter updates. And the idea is that you've got a cross audience, and people who are reading our updates like, oh, this relevant thing also will get, I'll go check out that Kickstarter, right? And in theory, that's great. It's like, oh, I'm reading about LUDOCHERRY clothing. Oh, and then look at these cute dice that is at the end of their update. I'll go look at those dice. It didn't work out like that, because it turns out they just pair you up with any old other campaigns. Doesn't matter if it's relevant to you or not. So the campaigns he gave to us to put at the end of our Kickstarter update were like a travel hiking jacket, a suitcase, and a face mask thing. And so it's like,
face mask makes sense. I mean, was this before the pandemic, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It was so completely, basically irrelevant other than they're vaguely clothing. But just because someone's looking at geeky clothing doesn't mean they want a hiking jacket. And similarly, we're like, well, whose Kickstarter updates are we on? Because they're not going to be interested in our very specific niche product if they've just backed, a random tech product. So that whole process was weird. We couldn't get in touch with this guy to discuss, have a meeting about the things he tried to get us to market. But then so he wouldn't respond to us trying to arrange a Skype call, but then he'd call us on Skype at like 4 a.m. our time, repeatedly, despite me messaging saying, no, text us the time so we can arrange a meeting because it's now 4 a.m. and we don't want to talk to you, basically. So just very unprofessional as well, which is kind of shocking, because at least if you're going to run a scam at this level, surely be slick about it. That's what got us. He's letting the whole scam down. It was like, if it hadn't been for him, we might have hung on a bit longer, They really need to replace him. But it was very unprofessional, very weird kind of vibes. Refused to read any of my messages or acknowledge them in any way. Very weird. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know where that leaves us, other than we basically got out of that as soon as possible. But it was definitely kind of, looking back, we saw kind of all the red flags and all the warning signs, and we put together kind of a list of, for people who get approached by companies like this, what questions should you be asking, and what should you be looking out for? So I have a kind of list that we put together of that, if that's helpful to run through.
For sure, if you have a list of notes, then great. And just a quick hello to Ross. It's lovely to
Hi, Ross.
have you join in. Someone did ask, do these companies get reviews? To which I will say that if you go to kickstarter.com/experts, that is a place where you can see these people who have been somewhat vetted. So they do actually vet them somewhat, and then all these people, it doesn't mean that these people are necessarily going to be right for your project. With any marketing, there's a bit of a gamble, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
There's, okay, do they understand what you're doing? If you're spending money, is your game, going to be ad friendly? Because frankly, the way that I've been doing my games in the past, where I maybe don't have any of the final artwork, that's not a great thing for ads, let's be honest. Yep. And whilst, yeah, sure, I could say I'm really glad that I did that early on, because it's allowed me to make an bind, which became Yogi. And here is El Divertido Juego de las Poses Toquidas. So it's in more than one language for sure.
Very cool.
And so, And having something like DL Deck or Kitty Cataclysm, where some people see an early work in progress, I really like that. But let's be honest, you do need that final artwork because Kickstarter is becoming slicker and slicker.
Yeah.
And yeah, I need to, for my next thing, I am planning to, and I keep saying this, I don't think it's any coincidence that my most backed Kickstarter by a long shot was the second edition of the L deck, the deluxe version, where basically I already had the art from the first edition, and I said, look, this is going to be almost the art, but I'm going to redraw these like 2 or 3 letters. And I redrew the V, I redrew the G, but I think the point was that people at that point didn't really care because they saw, okay, it's going to look good. Whereas when I'm showing them art like, quick drawings that have, taken a couple of hours over an entire deck, when I'm going to take a couple of hours or like half a day over every single individual card, how are people going to get the sense of what I'm actually making? And so that's down a whole different rabbit hole of marketing, which we can get into another day. But my point is, even with these actual experts, then yeah, you do have a bit of a gamble to make. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I will also say that Kickstarter experts page is great, and there's a bunch of people there who are, own companies who are really great to work with. Do your research with them because a lot of them, like, reach out to them early, see the kind of clients they work with, the kinds of projects they work with. For example, I just saw Gelop in that list that you were scrolling through, and Gelop is great. They've done a lot of campaigns. From what I've heard, they do really good work, but they won't touch a campaign unless you're expecting 7 digits. So unless you're in the millions, basically, Gelop isn't going to be. They're just going to be too expensive for you. Their scale and their breadth is kind of for tech projects, $1 million, tabletop, mini, excessive, ultimate, deluxe things. So you want someone who not only understands your product but understands kind of your scale and your niche. So yeah, Gelop's great, but we weren't expecting 7 digits. We were hoping for 5. So yeah, but as I said, they're great, but they wouldn't have gone near. We were too small fry, which is fine. They have their own niche, which is very large projects. They do a lot of tech, and they know how to market at that scale.
And so there's a few things that I kind of got from what you're saying. That firstly, if they cheat you on one bit, they might cheat you on other bits. If there's any if you can't find good reviews, then maybe, frankly, if a marketing company can't market themselves, if there aren't any good reviews or testimonials, then why are they going to be good at marketing you? And also the whole notion of paying for Facebook followers or Twitter followers, it's really easy. If I wanted to get 20,000 Twitter followers tomorrow, I probably could. You can go to places where you pay them a little bit of money and you will actually get loads of Twitter followers, but it will just so happen that they will all be these kind of bots. And honestly, I've probably got about, like, I sometimes look at the people when someone new starts following me, it's like, oh, okay, if I can, check them out. And occasionally it's recently, like when it's a porn bot, I'm like, okay, should I actually just be blocking them? Because maybe even by virtue of them following me, maybe, I don't know. But anyway, the whole point is that, this kind of thing is meaningless. If you've got 30,000 followers, that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. One of the so I have a funny story about the reviews actually, but before I do that, in terms of followers, the most important thing to look at is engagement rate.
Sorry,
you get called out.
States, and I watched it. I got States watching Dave Gorman, and there is a Dave Gorman about that.
Excellent. Like the most important thing for an account is the engagement rate, not the strict number of followers. Like obviously, if you legitimately have 10 million followers, that's amazing. But you know, especially when I used to be responsible for giving out press copies and things like that of games, I don't necessarily care if you have 1,000 or 10,000 subscribers, but if you have 1,000 subscribers and, you know, 50 of them are commenting versus 10,000 subscribers and 50 of them are commenting, I'm going to give a review copy to the 1,000 follower
Hmm.
channel, right? Because it means they have a more committed, dedicated audience
Yeah.
who's regularly watching their content as opposed to people who just, you know, don't care, don't engage with it. And that's what matters. It doesn't matter how much content they put out or how good it is if no one's watching it or interacting with it.
Can I there is a slight difference with Instagram, isn't there? Because when you reach 10,000, my understanding is that in Instagram, you're then suddenly allowed to share links. And so in your posts, even like, for example, let's be honest, all board game people are really small. Even
Yeah.
I don't know how many followers, for example, Essen or UK Games Expo has, but I don't think even they are 10,000.
Yeah.
But I think if you get to 10,000, then you're allowed to put links under each post, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I
Not,
think you can make things clickable in the actual photos as well, because you can like share. It's kind of for influencers, so they can do promoted posts and stuff. I think. Yeah.
and so, I mean, if we're okay, so links in your stories and stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, this is diverting from the point, but then doesn't that mean that if you want to games the system, okay, that it would actually behoove you to get a fake 10,000 followers straight away through some bots or something so that you can paste links to stuff?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like having the engagement is the most important thing, but I'm sure there are people who buy the 10,000 followers and use that to, you know, get product from people, to pretend to be, you know, influencers worthy of, you know, fees and stuff, and then obviously get no results or engagement from that. But sometimes it's like, as marketing, it's often not trackable how much conversion you get for individual, you know, channels, right? I can see you as someone backed, but I don't know, did they come here from that video or that video? Was it a combination of all of them? Did they see the Facebook ad and then a post about it in Board Game Revolution and then a blur? Like, it's usually multiple touch points that get people to purchase something, and so you don't know which of those touch points had the most influence, or, you know, if one of them is the reason they bought or if all of them are the reason they bought. So pretending to be an influencer and being like, oh yeah, I got you conversions, I got you stuff, it's easy to kind of do because marketing isn't very trackable anyway.
Hmm. That's the really difficult thing because sure, sometimes like I had someone tell me, "Oh, um got I just demoed Yogi to a bunch of people, and one of it went to this online web shop and bought it right there on the point
Mm.
spot." Which, assuming they are telling the truth, and honestly, they have no reason not to, because it's not like I was paying them money or anything. You know, that's clearly okay. It was 1-to-1 because of that demo. But even if I'm doing something in person, like everything that I did at UK Games Expo, maybe that encourages someone in a year's time. Because
Yeah.
someone's asked me, like just today on Twitter, someone was asking me about the L deck, and I know that I met them, like they were asking me, like I met them in yeah, I think I actually met them just before it came out, which must have been like 4 years ago. I don't know how they found me or whatever, but there you go.
Yeah.
And so it's like that thing. Okay, there's this sale, and I hate thinking about it in terms of sales and numbers. But you know, as I was saying to Lolvi privately after our conversation, you know, you do need these things to be able to,
Absolutely.
um, you know, serve, you know, make money is a thing that we all need. Let's just put it that way.
Absolutely. And you know, people deserve to be, you know, get money for the hard work, the creativity that they're outputting. So, you know, thinking of it as business isn't the only way to think of something, but it's definitely an important way to think about, where you put your ad money, where you put your time and investment in cons and in all these other events, because you only have so much time, right? And you only have so much money you can invest in marketing. So putting it in the place where you expect the most value to come from is important.
Now, we had a couple of other notes that, so basically not ignoring red flags if something seems too good to be true, or if something's, hey, there's something that they're doing wrong. And it seemed to be like it was all about your, to use your own word, sorry, naivety, and in wanting to believe the best of people. And can I actually share a possibly traumatic story that involves bodily violence?
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that.
Okay, so let me see if I can find my. I normally like to have a sad stuff, like just so. So basically, I've got a couple of stories of getting mugged, let's call it.
Right.
So one of the stories was as a very young person. I was maybe 10 or thereabouts. I was old enough to go to the shops on my own.
Yeah.
And so I was going down to the shops. My mum had given me some money, and then someone kind of spots me and then basically grabs me and then says, okay, give me your money. And then there's this adult coming by, and then I kind of shout out, can you help me, please? And then they just kind of wander on, and then I walk, and then basically they got the money, and I went back home and I told my mum what had happened, and I told them that like I was in disbelief that I'd shouted out to this adult that this thing had happened. And my mum said, okay, well, how did you shout out? And then I repeated myself. And then what happened was that, basically, my mum said, well, the way you said it, it sounds like you're just kind of making a gentle request. Like, honestly, maybe I was too shy. Like, I wasn't like screaming loudly or anything, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And maybe the person didn't believe that anything bad was actually happening. And so I know that we are touching into victim blaming and that, but to brush over that, because that's not the point. The point of the story is that I was, I guess, really caught unawares, and that was, possibly part of my naivety. And then let's flash forward several, maybe a decade or so. And so I was on my bike. I was bin raiding, if kind of when places chuck away good food, and so sometimes you look through and then you grab stuff. Certainly, it might be because you're low on funds. It might be because you're don't want the food to go to waste. It might be a combination of the two. Anyway, so in this situation, I was bin raiding, and some people who seemed quite drunk, they came over, they grabbed me, and then I was like, oh, what are you doing? And I thought this was just some drunken people kind of having a laugh. And then they started hitting me, and I was like, hey, are you having a laugh? You are hurting me. And then it got to the point where I was like, oh, fuck, they are actually trying to mug me. And then the sad thing is that I was so naive at that point. And I know this is an extreme example. And yeah, basically, it took me several minutes to kind of get to the realization that, yes, these people are ready to commit bodily violence in order to take all my belongings. As it happened, they ran off with my pannier, but and when I was like, okay, am I going to fight back? Then I was at the position of, okay, could I actually defend myself against all these people? And then the second question is, okay, even if I can, will they have a weapon? Which was my bigger fear, if you know what I mean. So I ended up just kind of defending myself, but not actually striking back because I was scared to escalate it in case they had a knife or something. And so, that in a way, if I hadn't been as naive, I know it's a very different thing, but I could have run away,
Yeah,
if you know what I mean.
absolutely.
And the truth is that there are some utter terrible people in this world. And so, yeah, the end of that story, if anyone wants to know, was like a taxi driver kind of came in. I think they maybe saw that something was happening, and then the people Scarper, they told me to get in with my bike, and then they kind of drove around trying to look for these people for a wee bit. And then the taxi driver actually took me to a hospital where I spent a couple of days, and I had to
Wow.
get some yeah, I had actual cracks in my skull.
Jesus. I'm
So
sorry that happened.
yeah, that was pretty traumatic. Yeah, and so yeah, that is the story. And so yeah, I guess it's obviously a slightly different example, but I think the point is to be a reminder that thing, yeah, people aren't rubbish. I don't want this to be the takeaway. People are not rubbish. People are. I'm not going to say most people are amazing because I don't know if I can believe that, but definitely some people are amazing, and a good portion of people are. I'm trying to not use are immensely amazing, and yeah, thank you. And Ross says you need to try and apply street smarts online too. It can be easy to skip over steps online that would be red flags in person, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And this is the key takeaway that we want to believe the best in people. And I think that's a really good thing to do. But there is a certain point where we need to say, no, stop. And there are certain things I've learned. Like if anyone touches me in violence, well, if anyone touches me without, it being, out of love or, hug, obviously that's a different situation. But if it, sorry, I should put up the banner again. So if anyone ever touches me out of in a bad karma, like my brother told me, if anyone's shouting at you, if anyone's doing that, just take it. That's fine. But the moment that they poke you, even if they just touch you, push them back with all your might and shout, "Don't touch me!" Like, don't
Yeah.
freaking touch me. I'm sure you can fill in the blanks there. And so, yeah, I have had to do that a couple of times since then.
Yeah.
And it because there is a point where you want to believe the best, but you have to have that line somewhere.
Yeah.
And these are once you're in unexplored territory, once we are yeah, and yeah, even in the story there was an amazing person to put some faith in humanity.
Yeah.
Sorry, so I guess my point is try not to be naive. Sorry for the tangents.
No, it's definitely true. It's like I don't know, it's when it comes to business and it comes to, people wanting to take advantage of that and, because they were definitely trying to take advantage of, obviously we want our business to do as well as possible. And so they're like promising the world and where they're being like, well, why would they be promising all these things? And, they don't make money unless we make money. But, clearly the upfront fee is enough motivation for them to kind of take the money and run. But we were there being very like, oh, it's fine, right? And obviously taking advantage of the fact that we wanted to get it started as soon as possible and the fact that we wanted our business to grow as much as possible. Very much they were preying on that, and that's kind of what we fell to, unfortunately. But we have learned a lesson, and we will never, ever kind of do it again. Work with a company without asking them all the right questions, and we know all the questions to ask, and we know all the things to look for now.
So it's not as if you can just name names because some of these companies are going to be proverbial fly-by-night companies where they
Yeah.
change their name and then they come back as a separate entity. And I know that, yeah, frankly, if you have someone who's got a company who's been, potentially even the subject of a lawsuit, and then they make up several new companies with new names, it kind of feels like, okay, are they doing? Sure, they're kind of trying to hide something, and so I think that you do need to look into people. So you say that you know the right questions to ask. Other than just generally doing your research and not being naive, can you um, give any pointers as we start wrapping up?
Yeah, so I think we kind of came up with 3 questions that, if a company ever approaches you and says, "Hey, we want to market us, we want to market you, we'll get a commission on your stuff, and we'll make you awesome, we'll make you big, we'll get you millions of dollars." There are kind of a few key things you want to check. So what Funded Today did, another red flag, is they came to us and they said, "Okay, great, you're working with us, paid the fee. Here's this, what they called an onboarding questionnaire," which was basically me filling out a bunch of stuff about our brand. Who do we think our demographic is? What makes our product unique? What are the selling points of our product? Blah, 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 blah. Basically giving them a summary of, everything they could maybe use in an ad, everything they could, leverage when trying to market us. And they ended up basically, from what I can tell and how they talked to us and how they advertised us, they didn't read it or didn't consume any of that in any meaningful way. And I spent maybe an hour or two putting that together for them, plus all the digital assets and everything that we gave them. And really, if a company is coming to you saying, "We think you're great and we want to advertise you," you should be the one asking them those questions, because they should already know. Because if they think they can profit off you, in the sense of they can get enough commission from their referrals, that means they think that your product will convert from ads, and that means that they know how to sell your product. So if someone comes to you saying, "We want to advertise you," you need to ask them, why do you think our product has potential, right? Why do you think you can sell our product? What makes it interesting? What makes it unique? What makes you want to advertise us, basically? Because they should know that. If they're just coming to you, if they're coming to you genuinely and excited about what you're doing and excited about what you have, they'll be able to say, "Yeah, great. We think, in our case, your clothes are, fairly unique in the market. You've got unique textiles. They photograph really well, blah, 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 blah." They should be able to say all that. They shouldn't be asking us for the selling points. The other thing you can ask them is, who do you think our audience is and how are you going to reach them? Like, they should know basically exactly the demographic they're trying to target. They should know, maybe the age range, the kind of interests they have. They should know, yeah, basically who your customer is, or who your kind of range of customers are, what their budget is, what their lifestyle looks like. All of that a professional marketer kind of has down and knows exactly how to target those Facebook ads. So they should know that. And then the third question is ask them, what, if you're in tabletop or board games, what board game or tabletop projects have you worked on before? And they should be able to hopefully come back with some answers where you can maybe even ask those creators, if they say, "Oh, we've worked on Exploding Kittens," or "We've worked on, I don't know, Gloomhaven," you can go ask Isaac at Cephalofair Games and be like, "Hey, Isaac, did you work with this company for Gloomhaven, and are they good or are they trash?" Basically. And especially in the tabletop community, it's a pretty small community. We're not a huge market, and you can just reach out to people like that on a professional level and say, "Hey, I'm looking at working with these people. They say they've worked with you. Can you recommend them either way or warn me off them?" And so it's not necessary for them to have done tabletop projects before, especially if they have good answers to your first 2 questions. They know your product inside out. They know who to market and how to market it. But you know, if they've worked on tabletop before, not only do they know how to sell those products, they already have data and a database for customers who buy those products, which makes targeting Facebook ads even more specific and even more effective. So that's a really good plus in their column as well.
Those are some really good questions, and yeah, thank you for sharing that, because what are my selling points? As you say, if they are a marketer worth their salt, they should be able to do that. And who is my audience? I mean, yes, you should be thinking about this when you're making your own thing, but hey, they're meant to be an expert. They should know who's the audience.
Yep.
And yes, if frankly, if they haven't done any previous projects before, then okay, I'm not going to say like, well, then I hope you're not paying them very much, because frankly, I am paying Chris to come over and help me market stuff, because Chris is my friend and an old housemate, and I'm paying them, London, within a reasonable amount of money for that. I'm not, and but I know that Chris is good for it, and I know that Chris is putting in a lot of effort and quick to learn, if you know what I mean. But frankly, if someone were like, okay, I want 25 quid an hour or something like that, and let alone the typical rates that these people charge, where it can be 50 or even 100 quid per hour, which to me is wow. Wow. It's like you need to have some track record, surely. You need to, and that's the thing. And I think it is about being able to vet things, because it's fundamentally, this comes down to being able to analyze things and think about what is legitimate and what is not. Who will deliver on the promises, who will not. And when someone is phoning you, are they personalizing stuff? I will say for myself, have you only done the one Kickstarter project?
This is the only one I've kind of done start to finish, but I've worked on others for Bezier games as well, kind of doing social media
so
and all
all
that.
The ones that you've done are probably going to be like really big things. Whereas like even when you do a small Kickstarter project, even if your Kickstarter project has like 6 people backing it so far, straight away, people do start sending you messages.
Yeah.
I mean, and people say, hey, and the first time, like when it was for my first game, In a Bind, now known as Yogi, please don't try to buy In a Bind, I will not sell it to you. Well, I had another request last night, which was really nice, and someone saying, oh, I really want to buy In a Bind just because I know you've got Yogi, but I prefer the original artwork. I'm sorry, I don't have enough copies. And I contractually shouldn't sell it anyway, but even if I could sell it, I wouldn't want to, because I've basically run out, and I want to have like at least a copy for myself, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's really personal. Anyway, so that to the side. The point is that even when that was a thing, and like that was a really slow Kickstarter thing, I might actually even bring up, well, the Kick Track thing, if you looked at it, a normal Kickstarter project, if I draw really quickly, would look like that in terms of backers per day, correct?
Yeah.
My Kickstarter project was like that. Oh, sorry, actually, it shouldn't have the dip at the start, but like my Kickstarter project was like that. So basically, I got 1/3 of my backers on the last 12 hours.
Wow.
I funded with about 30 minutes to go. It was tense.
Wow.
Anyway, so the point is, there was a long time when I had very few Kickstarter backers, and despite that, I got all these people saying, hey, we're interested in this project. Now, some of them were legitimate because it is a good game. I got a request from several publishers that I could name, but I'm not going to because it would sound like bragging, that I did respect. And at the time I was like, oh my God, I never thought that a publisher would contact me. I really respect them because I know the games that they have made. Is it worth me actually doing this? And it was, okay, do I want to do it myself? Like, And there were also messages from a lot of marketing people who were like, hey, we really like your project. And even back then, maybe I was a wee bit more canny than you. Maybe I didn't have the whole, maybe if you have a big success, there's kind of the excitement to continue building that momentum. I don't know. But for me, at least, it was like, hey, well, what do you like about it? And so many of them just would not appreciate it.
Yeah.
Oh, someone says that this is like a cat's head.
Very cute.
So yeah. Anyway,
Sorry.
and yeah, Xate has in a bind because they won the 5-year in a bind photo contest, and I will give one away in 5 years' time more. Because
Very cool.
I've got enough to do that, but not that anyway. So and hello CD, it is so lovely to see in the comments. Yeah, my point is all of these questions are so useful, and thank you for sharing that. Is there anything else? Any other final tips?
Yeah, I think the other thing they wanted, which was a huge warning sign, is be very wary of anyone who either asks to be able to automatically message backers. Sorry, my Chester's just trying to climb a thing and he's about to fall down. Sorry. There you go, sweet boy. There you go. Okay. They like climbing up our shelves and hiding behind our board games. Anyway, be very wary of anyone who wants to automatically message your backers. So we had a couple of companies, include the one we worked with and one we didn't, who were like, oh, we want every time someone backs, we want to automatically message them and send them a survey and ask them these questions. And there's basically no benefit to you for doing that. Anyone who gets those messages knows they're automated messages. They're not, it's very clear they're not personalized, sent by the creator as a heartfelt thanks to you. And what those companies are actually doing is collecting data for themselves. It's not helping you. Any of those questions that they ask you are going to be, information that you collect in your pledge manager, information that you collect afterwards.
Based on new Canadian and EU laws, that might actually even be illegal.
Yes, exactly. And so you got to be very careful of that. We were very against that. We're like, no, we don't want to spam people. We don't want anything like that. And that was even before we had the realization of, they're just trying to, data mine basically, so they have better stats. You want to go home? Sorry, I just got to put this boy back in his cage because he is very keen to get out of my sleeve. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, go on.
1 second, sorry.
Sure. So I think that whilst Phoebe's away for a moment, what this is making me think about is there is obviously a wider issue with scammers in general. It's not just about marketers, but it's also about, for example, piracy within board games. It's also about publishers like Golden Bell. Seriously, don't deal with them. Because it's all about, fundamentally, there are people who are offering something and then they don't live up to that promise, whether it's a forgery of something or whether it's a fake board game, because any successful board game from Pandemic Legacy to Exploding Kittens is going to be copied. And, due to... Yeah, there are going to be other publishers who are going to be preying upon you, but if you're a designer who say, hey, can I have the if I've got an article that I should probably just do a show, if at least my typical rules, if at least a couple of people want it, I've got an article that I said, is this a good contract, and of what I would personally look for in the contract as a designer. So if that's something that at least a couple of people want to talk about, I will. But to summarize, and make sure that the rights revert back to you at some point, either after a number of years, or make sure that they're obligated to do something. For example, I signed with ITB Inside the Box, and they are obligated to get it out by a certain time. They're obligated to sell a certain number of units. for calendar year going forwards, they're obligated to do certain things in the next couple of years. And so, yeah, it's about being aware, and there are people who are willing to help you. There are resources. And I think sometimes it can be that we're a bit too excited or a bit too willing to just believe that everything is great when a lot of things are great. And I don't want to say that life isn't great. Life overall is brilliant. And I'm really happy to be alive and engaging with all these wonderful people over the internet and sometimes even face to face. And even like last week, I think it was about a week and a half ago, I had a conversation with a stranger in real life, which was quite fun. I just kind
Wow.
of yeah, we were unlocking bikes next to each other, like maybe 2 meters apart. And I said, and I shared something with them that I can't share publicly because it's something involving board games and contracts. And I said, hey, I'm just really excited about this. I can't tell people, but I'm telling you because you don't know who on earth I am. And so they said, oh, that sounds really great when I explained to them what was happening. And I said, oh, congratulations, well done. They said, thank you very much. And having that, anyway, so a lot of people are amazing. There are wonderful people, but you need to understand that there are also some terrible people that you do have to watch out for.
Yeah.
I mean, does it all just come down to that awareness?
I think so. I think it's that like there's a number of reasons why you might kind of fall for it in the way that we did. In our case, I think it was kind of a mixture of excitement and kind of just general disbelief that there'd be a scam kind of operating at this level with this kind of amount of believability put in, so we ignored the rest of the red flags. It could be that you don't know what a contract is meant to look like in the case of being a designer or something like that. It could be a whole range of things. And so if you just know the right questions to ask and the kinds of answers you should be getting back if someone is legit, that's going to help you a lot, because it just gives you kind of a guide to be like, okay, let's stop for a second, let's ask, go through these steps and make sure we're vetting them every way we can be. And honestly, it comes down to just trust your gut, because at times, both Mark and I, we had this feeling where we're like, oh, I don't know, I think this is a good idea, but are we sure? And then we both went and we're like, oh, no, it's fine. We did it. And then, it wasn't fine. I mean, if we had kind of just listened to ourselves and not talked ourselves into it, we would have been better off. But it's easy to kind of have that doubt and be like, no, it's fine. It's just misunderstanding or miscommunication or whatever. So you just ask the right questions and hopefully you'll be able to tell pretty quickly.
And sometimes like to do why is it good? Why is it bad? I mean, this is not a thing that can be good. This is just, this is a terrible thing and it exists. And hopefully by talking about it for basically an hour, because the first half hour was just kind of us chatting together, which I did quite enjoy, and I think that's a valuable part of the stream, and hopefully other people enjoy the long lengthy intro. But having chatted about this for an hour, I think the main bit that we can take away is that these terrible things exist. And I think the main questions that Phoebe talks about, if someone's asking you for marketing, say to them, what are my selling points? Why do you like my thing? Who is my audience? You tell me, you should know. And what were your previous projects? Can you show some sorts of testimonials? And if you've got someone who's phoning you on the phone, because you do get this more and more these days, people phoning you, people emailing you, people contacting you however they can. It is a case of just be aware that there are these bad people, but also be aware that there is some lovely people. And so what else does that recap everything? That if they don't ignore red flags, don't always believe the best in people. Believe the best is a good idea generally, but there has to be a limit. And also watch out for piracy and don't deal with Golden Bell.
Yeah.
Golden Bell are a menace.
Yep.
I mean, it's
Good
weird
summary.
to put them out, but I think, yeah. And there's so many people who just change their names, at which
Yeah.
point you don't know if you're dealing with the same people anymore.
Yeah.
So you have to be aware of that. Is there anything else that we can recap about?
I think that was pretty much everything we talked about. Yeah.
Okay. To wrap up, if you would like to find me, I'm stuffabez.bigcartel.com, where you can buy my stuff, twitter.com/stuffabez. I tweet a lot, instagram.com/stuffabez. I share pictures of things I'm making or things I see. Twitch.tv/stuffabez is where I stream. Facebook.com/thingsbybez is a thing, and stuffabez@gmail.com. You can reach out if you want to reach out. And if you want to find, I meant to do that just in the Twitch. If you're on YouTube or Facebook, Phoebe's links are in there, and Twitch, I've just pasted it in. But where can people find you, and where are you excited to be found?
Yeah. Find me on Twitter as @LudoPhoebe. Where else am I? I'm probably going to start streaming soon. Probably just me playing like Fall Guys and Animal Crossing and things like that. So watch my Twitter if you want to watch me be a silly bean. I will be falling over a lot in Fall Guys. LUDOCHERRY, if you want our clothes, is ludocherry.com. We have pre-orders open at the moment, so you can go check that out. We have, a few sizes and things selling out as well. So jump in there if you have a particular size and fabric design you want, because some of them have disappeared somehow. So yeah, that's all my links. Just check out LUDOCHERRY for cute geeky clothes.
I would like to give a quick thank you to everyone who's been watching, especially those who've been commenting and asking questions, like Alex, Aquasulis, Xate, Will Cook for Games, More Games Please, Ross, CD, who else am I missing? Alan Oughton, Javier, and of course, a biggest thank you to Phoebe Wild.
Thanks for having me. It's been great. I love just chatting.
Oh, and what are we looking forward to? Hopes and ambitions, it's over to you for this final section. So this is where I invite everybody, not just Phoebe, but everybody in the comments currently, and also anybody who might be watching this in the future, to think about what are you looking forward to. Maybe it's something that you're looking forward to cooking. Maybe even a bowl, something simple you're looking forward to eating, like a bowl of cereal. You could take some delight in that. Maybe it's something later today, or later this week, or next month, or maybe all of them. Think about it. What are we looking forward to? Things that are definitely coming. And then there's the hopes and ambitions. We can hope for things even if we don't expect them. Like a very wise friend told me this. Their name is Xate. Xate is probably going to. And so Xate asks, can we get Phoebe over for an art show? Because we had the idea of chatting, but I think our afternoon is your very bad time, isn't it?
Yes, I think so.
It's currently -3. It's 8:30 p.m. over there.
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah, it feels like the stream that we do wouldn't quite work. But we've got apparently I could pay Xate every time I quote them. That doesn't seem very kind of you. Ross is making some chocolate croissants. That sounds very exciting. I've never actually made croissants myself, let alone chocolate croissants. That sounds very complicated and impressive. I hope you have a marvelous time of it. And yeah, that sounds lovely. We've got CD, who is watching Project Runway with their mum tomorrow.
Project Runway's so good. LUDOCHERRY may or may not exist because I binged all of Project Runway, so...
Wow, so are you saying that if it weren't for Project Runway, then it would have taken something else to get you to make that little leap?
I think so. I definitely wouldn't have been thinking about clothes in such a creative way if it weren't for kind of watching people do it week to week. So I think it definitely had an influence on that.
It's pretty awesome. And funny how these things all kind of mutate, so it's like a million things that's all culminate. So would you like to share your things that you're looking forward to, or indeed your hopes and ambitions? It's fine whether it's personal or business or both.
Yeah, so looking forward to is definitely something that we're going to be eating soon. Mark ordered a cheese box from a local shop, cheese place. So we're just going to be eating cheese and crackers and pork pies and quince paste and being very bougie with our cheese.
Sounds brilliant. I do have some cheese in the fridge. It's the Cornish tickler. It's a quite nice. It's got a good sharpness, and it's got a bit almost of a citrus flavor. I did buy it from partially because it is quite cheap. It's not like an amazing like artisanal cheese or anything. It's from Lidl, but it's one of those ones where, you know, leave it in the box, leave it even. Yeah, I like that cheese. It's a good solid cheese for me. Oh, someone recently saw a cheese vending machine.
What? Where?
On Twitter.
Where?
Yeah, there was like someone in a shed. Someone has a cheese vending machine.
Wow, I'm jealous. I assume it was refrigerated so that they could like keep it all cool and then just press the buttons.
Alex and I saw the same thing.
I'll be able to smell it. Yeah, good.
Hello, J Fool's Guard. They are going to play board games all afternoon and evening. And I am looking forward to. So I'm going to be honest. There has been a lot of housemate disharmony, let's say, due to cleaning rotas. And so for a while, Chris was helping us, but now Chris is kind of back to their other job, and they say, you know, they always only wanted to do that for a brief amount of time. But now one of my other housemates has another friend who needs a bit of money, so we're going to pay them to come in once a week for a few hours, starting on Friday, to do the job, which because sometimes if someone's doing stuff all the time, then they start resenting other people. I'm not going to name names. Someone might be thinking, why aren't other people doing their stuff? And then they start reminding other people to do stuff because they've now been cast in this kind of headmistress role, but they feel like that headmistress role might have been maybe pushed upon them. And anyway, it's a whole thing. And so sometimes it's not just like it is a luxury kind of, but sometimes it is a thing that you really need to kind of have some harmony.
Yeah, absolutely.
The other hopes and ambitions that I have generally for this week are I've got like 3 projects that I'm currently are my top priority. Actually, kind of 4 if you include these streams. So I'm hoping to write more of a page for these streams, kind of for guests, because up until now I've been doing a mixture of writing things and then rewriting things. It's like, hey, wait a minute, I'm writing out the exact same info. I should start copying pasting things. Then I start forgetting where to copy paste things. So I need to now have just a Google Doc to say, hey, if you're coming on this show, here's the things to be aware of. Here's the things to kind of, And I feel like that would be just easier, not only for me, but hopefully also for you to say, hey, this is the way the show goes and this is how long to expect it. And remember, before you come on, to have a brilliant thing, to have, tell me if you need to be gone by a certain time, and try to have headphones if you physically and technologically can. And yeah, like all the other things that kind of need to be done. So that's the one thing. The other thing is working on Yogi Stock Guru. It's a pitch for festival with Xate. My second thing is an RPG that I'm kind of working on. It's basically, I'm not going to explain exactly how that thing goes. I don't know exactly how. I'm still working out how to explain it, and I've got to write it within the next week. So basically, I need to get a first draft done by the 3rd of September to show to this thing. There's a London thing in January, which will, fingers crossed, be able to run. And I'm hoping to write a LARP for that. And so I've got to have a first draft to say, hey, this is the thing. They've already said that they're definitely interested. Please have a first draft. And that's the top priorities this week. The fourth priority, which is a little bit further down, is to get more of my letter shapes drawn, which I don't want. This is kind of, this was just my exploration of how it should look, and it's definitely not, it's going to look a little bit more like that, not like that, a little bit more like that maybe. Yeah, these are just my kind of explorations, but I'm kind of more settling on something that, anyway, I'm going to have the next edition of the categorical deck. Anyway, those are my 4 projects. Sorry for rambling on.
No, you're not rambling.
Sometimes it's almost, in these streams, it almost helps me to reaffirm in my own mind, this is what I need. And that's why after 4 months of streaming, I ended up with like a 2.5-hour stream where Xate and Alex watched me kind of come to a realization that I could probably explain in 2 minutes. But yeah, we've got a few other people. Question: how do rats and board games mix? Starting to seriously consider getting a rat friend. Can we have a last-minute question? Is that okay?
Absolutely. Rats are so I didn't even know we wanted pet rats until we walked into our local pet store and these boys were up for adoption and we looked at them like, oh my god, they're so cute. And we wanted like a dog for a while, but we have a really small apartment and we're like, oh, it's not going to work. But rats are fantastic. They're so smart. They're really friendly. They're very clean. They're very trainable. They're cuddly. And they're just like, I don't know, that people call them low maintenance dogs, and they really are. Like, they're just kind of, I don't know, they've been really great. You can see their cage behind us. We got them a giant 4-story cage, so they've got a little rat palace over there. You can see all their little toys and hidey holes, but you don't have to get them something that extravagant. You have to get at least 2 rats. They need at least a friend to hang out with.
Okay. So never get just 1 rat because that's cruel.
Yeah. So they always want to. They're pack animals. So, and you can usually, if you get them from a breeder, who aren't terrible in the case of rats. I know there's issues with dog breeders, but there's not much money in breeding rats, so you don't get the same issues. If you get them from a breeder, you'll probably be able to get 2 or 3 from the same litter as well. They're cheap. They're low maintenance. Like, we clean their cage once a week. They eat grain and fresh veggies once a day. They're just really lovely, honestly. Like, they've been keeping us sane during the pandemic. They're just so bright and fun and cute. Yeah, and you've seen them scampering around all over the place even just now. They love kind of exploring our sleeves and wandering all over the place. They've now discovered they can get under our bed from behind the bed head. So they just climb around under our bed amongst all the suitcases like it's a little obstacle course. So it's very adorable. Highly recommend rats. Yeah. The only downside, I'd say, is that they're not a very common pet. So you'll finding a vet is a little bit harder. Finding toys and stuff for them is a little bit harder. But in terms of everything else, they're great.
that seems like some good advice, and so maybe that will encourage you, I think. Yeah. Oh, I assume this is a joke from Alan.
They don't have fleas. They're very clean animals, so they clean themselves a lot. So people think rat, there's obviously the association with rats and plague and everything, in the same way that people think pigs are dirty animals. They're only dirty when they're forced to live in like human filth, basically. So when they're forced to coexist with humans and live amongst our rubbish and our filth and our plagues, they obviously end up carrying that and not being clean animals themselves. But instinctually, they're constantly grooming. They're almost like cats. Like they groom themselves, they groom each other. They don't smell. We've trained them to they always poop in one like section of the cage, so all their poop basically goes there. We've trained them to do that. So yeah, they're very smart. Look, if you let them wander around, they will eat the boxes. Okay, give me 1 second. Hold on. Let me get something. I'll be back.
And I think that honestly, like any animals that you have are going to destroy things. And I know that if you have a dog or a cat, it's going to mess things up. And so
like, to be fair, this is our own fault because we let them wander among the board game shelves. So if you don't do that, you're fine. And we're also not super.
It does sound like they are like little babies that you do always have to keep an eye on them to some degree.
Kind of. Anyway, this is what they did to one of our boxes. But that's because we let them there. But they're very like capable in the sense that we just let them wander around and they'll find their way, from the couch back to their cage. It's good for them to be able to like have some free time. You can make like a little space for them if you want to box it off, and limit where they can go basically. And as I said, we're less precious about our games and stuff, so we kind of, if they chew on a box, we don't care. We're not going to sell it on. We're fine with it. I know there are people who are more particular about the state of their boxes, so just don't let them crawl around your Cadillacs, basically, because they will, eat boxes. They'll kind of eat anything you put in front of them. One of our boys, Chester, was very persistent, very, very determined to get himself a snack. So he got himself in our we've got like a box next to their cage where we keep all their snacks and everything. And he got in there, found the bag of nuts, gnawed through the plastic package, got a nut out, ran up to the top of the cage, and then hid in the blanket at the top of the cage with his nut after chewing through the whole packet. So, look, they're very determined and very smart, and they will chew anything to get what they want, but I love them.
Wow, this is I don't know what to make of this. So apparently Alan Alton loves hogs, and whether it's the warthogs or but yeah. And
hogs,
also frogs.
And dogs.
Yeah, I was trying to avoid saying that word. Chain.
Logs? Pet logs?
And yeah. So I think it is we've already shared stuff we're looking forward to and hopes and ambitions, and I think that was a comment to, I'm assuming this was a sarcastic comment by say it's I can't find it now, say, oh, we haven't noticed. Anyway, I hope that everyone has something they're looking forward to. I hope that everyone has something exciting coming up, whether it be cheese or fulfillment of a Kickstarter project, sending clothes to lots of people, or whether it be the creative projects that I need to remind myself of, so I say out loud. And so if you have enjoyed this, then please share it, spread the word. if you do know anyone who is starting their own Kickstarter project and, you know, might run into this kind of thing, then please warn them. You know, you can tell them to skip the first half hour because that's just the, you know, general banter. But yeah, I think there was a lot of really good stuff that we got into. Thank you everyone again. And the next streams for me are every day at 10 a.m. and Tuesdays at 8 p.m. all UK time. I apologize for our international listeners. Hopefully you can work that out to your own time. So tomorrow I am talking to Calvin Wong Saloon about writing rules. Friday, 10 a.m. UK time, I'm talking about why we make the specific games we make with Jasen Lakic. I'm not sure how to pronounce their name. I've not met them before, but it's a really interesting topic that they proposed, and I'm quite. And then Saturday is Kenechukwu from Nigeria talking about how board games can share stories. Sunday, I've not decided. It might just be me. Again, if people want to, might do a weekly roundup because I've not done one of those in a while. Just kind of check in with myself. And Monday is going to be Safety and LARP, and Tuesday is going to be... Anyway, there's all sorts of things to look forward to every day at 10 a.m. UK time and Tuesday at 8 p.m. UK time. Thank you very much. Sorry we can't do the show again, but you can go back and rewatch it. We can talk about lasagna and peas another time. Lasagna and peas are great, so there you go. I have enjoyed peas because they are simple to cook and nutritious. I might even have some peas today. Thank you for the reminder. The only thing left to do, unless you have anything to share,
I think that's it.
Well then, thank you, and bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Do-do-do-do. Bye, 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 bye. This is the goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye-bye.